Big interview off the top here, and it regards a topic it's on a lot of people's minds: the patience and lack thereof with these record high gas prices in this country. According to AAA, as of this morning, we're at a record more than $5 average price nationally. You're looking at it on your screen, $5.01. That is up nearly $2 from last year. And it's having a major impact on people's lives. So that interview I mentioned, we're joined now by Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. Secretary Granholm, thank you for being here and good morning to you. Tough time for the country, tough time for the administration here because Americans are pumping gas. They're seeing the numbers go up and up and up. Simple question off the top. When they're frustrated seeing that price, where should they place their frustration? Who should Americans be angry at right now?
Well, they certainly should be angry at Vladimir Putin because Russia was the largest and has been one of the largest exporters of oil. And when they invaded Ukraine, a number of countries like the United States, Canada, and others have said, we're not going to buy Russian oil. When that happens, that pulls millions of barrels off the global market, and that creates the supply crunch that has caused the price of gasoline at the pump to go up $1.70 since the invasion of Ukraine. So that's number one. Number two, the president issued a letter today to refineries, to those who are doing refining, the oil and gas companies, to say, why can't we increase more supply, not just increase supply of production of crude oil, but also increase supply of gasoline? And unfortunately, about 80% of the lost refining capacity that came down during COVID happened in 2020. And so the president is calling for the oil and gas companies to increase refining capacity as well.
But, Madam Secretary, on that second point regarding supply, and this is confusing for people, me included, America has been the largest producer of oil in the world for many years now. Given that fact, why can't we in this country keep prices down?
Yeah, it's a great question. It is because that oil is traded on a global market. So today the price of oil per barrel is about $120. People are paying that in countries all around the world. So, for example, if you were in Canada, you'd be paying $6.30 per gallon equivalent. You'd be paying over $8 per gallon if you lived in Germany. If you live in Singapore, you'd be paying over $9 a gallon. So leaders all across the globe are calling upon the oil and gas companies and the producers to increase supply, including in the United States, and to make sure that we can moderate the supply and demand. Of course, now we have summer driving season coming on. That is historically, prices go higher because there's an increase in demand. That puts upward pressure on prices. And now you have Europe, who has said that they, too, are going to ban Russian oil by the end of this year. That will put another upward increase in prices. So globally, this is a global problem. It's a problem that the president is trying to address by calling upon increases in supply both at home and globally.
Madam Secretary, so if the administration has already released millions of barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but yet the prices are still at record highs, what other tools do we have? What can we do? Yeah.
I'm glad you raised that. It's a really important tool. I mean, the U.S. has the biggest tool, which is that Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And so the president has released and again called for another 45 million barrels to be released. He's releasing 1 million barrels per day. And so that does moderate a bit. So the amount of oil that was taken off of the global supply with Russia's invasion of Ukraine was about 1 million, 1.5 million barrels. Now with refining capacity also being pulled off, or having been pulled offline, that's another 3 million barrels offline. And so the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at 1 million barrels doesn't quite fill the gap. And so that's why we need to increase supply. And that's why the president is calling for a meeting with these refiners, which I'll be convening, to say, what else can we do? By the way, the amount of profit that's being taken. Yeah, I mean, well, the amount of profit that's being taken right now is astonishing. So, for example, oil and gas companies had record profits in the first quarter, 225% increase over what they had in the first quarter of last year. In March, just as one example, in March, the price per barrel of oil was about $120 per barrel, like it is today. But in March, we were paying $4.25 per gallon of gasoline. Today, we're paying over $5. So there's a 75-cent increase. What is going on there? So this is why the president is not removing any of the tools that he has in the United States from the table, but recognizing that this is a global matter.
Right.
But he does want to see if we can increase supply for refineries.
Madam Secretary, at what point does these prices, what point do they become unsustainable? And two, ironically, does this push us closer to renewable energy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the prices are unsustainable for many people right now. I mean, everyday citizens who are on fixed incomes paying huge amounts of money that they had not anticipated or budgeted for just to get to work. It is unsustainable for many, and unfortunately, there's not a quick fix. However, your point about also accelerating our progress toward clean energy is very, very important. We don't want to be under the thumb of petro-dictators, globally or in the United States. We don't want to be at the whim of the volatility of fossil fuels like we are right now. And so we want to move to clean energy, and that's why the president and the bipartisan infrastructure law that was signed invests a significant amount of money to move in that direction.
Do you see this as a silver lining, then, to the pain many Americans are feeling? It'll accelerate the move you mentioned?
I don't think there's a silver lining. I don't think there's pain does not have a silver lining. It is painful. But I do know that countries are accelerating toward clean energy. I mean, Europe has got a whole strategy about moving away from Russian fossil fuels and moving away from fossil fuels altogether. And I think that's a good thing ultimately, but nobody wants to take any silver lining or any pleasure at all in what people are paying at the pump.
Secretary Granholm, thank you so much. We appreciate you.